Chapter 1, The Gray Divide. Morgan's heart raced as they slipped through the narrow alleyways of the city, their footsteps echoing off the grimy brick walls. Above, the sky loomed with an oppressive gray that weighed down on the inhabitants like a heavy, wet blanket. The air was thick with tension, and the muffled whispers of discontent seemed to hum like a low-frequency undercurrent. As they rounded a corner, Morgan pressed their back against the wall and took a deep breath. They glanced down at their hands, the pale, swirling aura emanating from their fingertips. It shifted and shimmered like a kaleidoscope of hues, defying the strict color categories imposed by the city's ruling class. Morgan knew that their unpredictable aura marked them as an outsider, someone who didn't fit into the binary system that had been the bedrock of their society for centuries. Morgan pulled the hood of their cloak tighter around their face, concealing the multicolored aura that threatened to expose them. They knew that if they were discovered, the consequences would be dire. Still, they couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement as they moved through the streets, a lone beacon of resistance against a monochromatic world. A sudden, cold gust of wind whipped through the alley, sending shivers down Morgan's spine. They pressed forward, their destination a secret meeting place for those who, like them, refused to submit to the color-coded norms. The knowledge that they were not alone in their defiance brought a spark of hope to their heart. As they approached the hidden entrance to the gathering, Morgan paused and glanced over their shoulder, ensuring they were not being followed. When they were satisfied that they were alone, they raised a hand to knock on the door, the shifting colors of their aura pulsating like a heartbeat. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room filled with hushed voices and the soft glow of candles. The scent of burning wax mingled with the faint aroma of brewing tea as Morgan stepped inside, their heart pounding with anticipation. A figure emerged from the shadows, their dark eyes taking in Morgan's appearance with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Morgan felt a moment of vulnerability, the weight of their difference settling on their shoulders. They took a deep breath, steeling themselves for the challenges ahead. "Welcome," the figure said, extending a hand wrapped in a bandage that seemed to conceal an aura of its own. "You are among friends here." As the door closed behind them, sealing out the oppressive gray of the city beyond, Morgan felt a surge of determination. They knew that this was just the beginning of their journey, that the road ahead would be filled with struggle and hardship. But in that moment, surrounded by others who dared to defy the world they had been born into, Morgan knew that they had found something worth fighting for. With a newfound sense of purpose and courage, Morgan stepped further into the room, ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead and change their world for the better. Chapter 2, The Spectrum's Embrace. The room was abuzz with quiet conversations, the atmosphere charged with anticipation and camaraderie. Morgan scanned their surroundings, noting the diverse array of auras that filled the space. Among them, they could see brilliant blues, fierce reds, and soft greens, an entire spectrum of colors that defied the binary system imposed by the city's rulers. A woman with a vibrant violet aura approached Morgan, a warm smile on her face. "I'm Layla," she said, extending her hand. "You must be new here. I've never seen an aura quite like yours." Morgan hesitated for a moment before taking her hand. "I'm Morgan," they replied, their voice wavering slightly. "I've never met others like me before, people who aren't afraid to challenge the system." Layla's smile grew brighter. "Well, Morgan, you've come to the right place. We're all here because we believe in a world where people can be free to express their true colors, without fear of persecution or judgment." As the two of them talked, Morgan began to feel a sense of belonging that they had never experienced before. They listened to stories of others who had faced similar struggles, finding solace in the knowledge that they were not alone in their fight for freedom. Layla led Morgan through the gathering, introducing them to various members of the resistance. With each encounter, Morgan felt their resolve strengthening, their determination to fight for a world of true equality and acceptance growing ever fiercer. At the far end of the room, a man with a deep blue aura stood on a makeshift stage, gesturing for silence. The room fell quiet as he began to speak, his voice resonating with power and conviction. Friends, we gather here today in defiance of a regime that seeks to control and suppress us, he said, his gaze sweeping across the room. But we will not be silenced. We will not be forced to hide our true colors. We are the embodiment of courage, and together, we will tear down the walls that divide us. The room erupted into applause, the energy of the crowd electric and contagious. Morgan felt their heart swell with pride and determination, their once lonely struggle now part of something much larger than themselves. As the meeting came to a close, Morgan realized that their life had taken a new direction. The path ahead would be filled with challenges and danger, but they were no longer alone. With the support and camaraderie of the resistance, they would face whatever trials awaited them, fighting for a world where every color could shine without fear. With newfound purpose and the courage to stand against oppression, Morgan stepped out into the night, ready to embark on the journey that would change their life and the world forever. Chapter 3: The Whisper of Rebellion. Over the following weeks, Morgan became an integral part of the resistance. They attended meetings, helped to plan covert operations, and shared their unique ability to change auras with the group. The sense of belonging and purpose that they found within the resistance only served to fuel their passion for the cause. One evening, as Morgan walked through the dark streets of the city, they couldn't help but notice the subtle changes that had begun to ripple through their world. The once muted whispers of rebellion now seemed to grow louder and more insistent, the longing for freedom and acceptance becoming an unstoppable force. Despite the growing unrest, the city's rulers continued to cling to power, tightening their grip on the populace and cracking down on any perceived dissent. Raids and arrests became more frequent, and the once thriving heart of the city began to wither beneath the weight of oppression. Determined to make a difference, Morgan and the resistance hatched a daring plan to infiltrate the city's seat of power, a fortified palace known as the Citadel. It was said that within its walls lay the key to dismantling the binary system and freeing the city from the shackles of prejudice and division. The night of the operation arrived, and Morgan felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through their veins. Alongside a small, skilled team of rebels, they crept through the shadows, their every movement calculated and deliberate. With Morgan's chameleon-like ability to change auras, they slipped past guards and security measures, drawing ever closer to the heart of the Citadel. As they navigated the winding corridors of the palace, Morgan felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on them. The fate of the city, and of all those who dared to defy its rigid norms, now rested on their shoulders. Finally, the team reached their objective, a heavily guarded chamber said to house the source of the regime's power, a mystical artifact known as the prism. According to legend, the prism had the power to control and manipulate the auras of every citizen, enforcing the binary system that had ruled the city for centuries. With a mixture of trepidation and determination, Morgan and the rebels fought their way into the chamber, their colors blazing like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Together, they faced the guardians of the prism, their every action a testament to the power of unity and the strength of their cause. As Morgan reached out to touch the artifact, their swirling aura pulsating with energy, they could feel the very fabric of their world beginning to shift. With a final surge of courage, they shattered the prism, releasing a wave of multicolored light that swept across the city. In that moment, the once rigid lines that had divided the city for so long began to blur and fade, replaced by a new understanding of diversity and acceptance. The people of the city, no longer bound by the constraints of the binary system, began to embrace the full spectrum of their identities, stepping into a new era of freedom and self-expression. The battle was far from over, and the road ahead would be filled with challenges and setbacks. But Morgan knew that they had set something in motion that could not be stopped, a tide of change that would wash away the old world and give rise to a brighter, more inclusive future. With their newfound family by their side, they faced the dawn of this new era with courage, determination, and hope. Chapter 4: Seeds of Change. With the destruction of the prism, the city had entered uncharted territory. The regime, weakened and disoriented, struggled to maintain control as the people began to embrace their newfound freedom. The once monochromatic streets now burst with vibrant colors, each hue telling a unique story of identity and self-expression. As the rebellion continued to gain momentum, Morgan emerged as a symbol of hope and unity, their ever-shifting aura a testament to the beauty of diversity. They worked tirelessly alongside their fellow rebels to dismantle the remnants of the oppressive regime, striving to build a more inclusive and compassionate society. Slowly but surely, the city began to heal. The seeds of change, sown by the rebellion and nurtured by the resilience of its people, took root and flourished. New leaders emerged, dedicated to promoting understanding and fostering dialogue between the various colors of the spectrum. Morgan, their once lonely struggle now part of a collective movement, found solace in their newfound family. Layla and the others became a constant source of support and inspiration, their shared experiences forging an unbreakable bond. As the months passed, the city continued to evolve and grow, adapting to the shifting landscape of its newfound freedom. Art and culture thrived, with galleries and performances celebrating the full spectrum of human experience. Education and communication became the cornerstones of the new society, ensuring that future generations would grow up free from the chains of prejudice and division. But there were still challenges to face. Outside the city, whispers of the rebellion had spread, inspiring other communities to rise up against their own oppressive regimes. Morgan and the resistance knew that their work was far from over, that the fight for true equality and acceptance would be a long and arduous journey. Together, they set out into the world, their hearts filled with hope and determination, ready to bring their message of unity and freedom to those who needed it most. Along the way, they would face adversity and hardship, but they would also find allies in the most unexpected places, their shared struggles forging new bonds and strengthening their resolve. As the sun rose on a new day, Morgan stood at the edge of the city, their aura shifting and shimmering like a kaleidoscope of light. They knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but they also knew that they were not alone. With the support of their family and the memory of their own journey to self-acceptance, they stepped forward, ready to bring the color of courage to a world in need of change. Chapter 5: The Colors of Unity. Morgan and the rebels embarked on a mission to spread their message of hope, diversity, and acceptance to the far reaches of the world. As they traveled from city to city, they encountered a myriad of cultures and communities, each with its own unique challenges and struggles. In each place, they were met with a mix of curiosity and resistance, but they persevered, forging alliances and planting the seeds of change. They held gatherings and meetings, sharing their stories of resilience and defiance, and teaching others about the power of unity in the face of adversity. One day, Morgan and the group arrived in a remote village, where the people were still bound by the rigid chains of tradition and conformity. The villagers, wary of outsiders, were initially reluctant to embrace the rebels and their message. But Morgan's ever-changing aura and their own tale of vulnerability and courage resonated with the villagers, sparking a curiosity and desire for change. As the villagers began to open up, sharing their own stories of oppression and longing, Morgan realized that the struggle for acceptance and freedom was universal. The colors of the spectrum might vary, but the desire to live authentically, free from judgment and fear, was a common thread that connected them all. With each new alliance, the rebellion's message of unity and acceptance continued to spread like wildfire. Word of their movement reached the ears of rulers and leaders across the land, some of whom felt threatened by the prospect of change. But the seeds of rebellion had taken root, and the flames of resistance could no longer be extinguished. One by one, the oppressive regimes that had once held their people in thrall began to crumble, their foundations weakened by the unstoppable force of the people's collective desire for freedom. New leaders emerged, dedicated to building a world where every color, every identity, could coexist in harmony. Years passed, and the world continued to evolve, embracing the full spectrum of human experience. Morgan, now a renowned figure in the fight for equality and acceptance, returned to their home city, where it all began. They marveled at the transformation that had taken place, their hearts swelling with pride and gratitude. As they walked through the streets, their aura shifting and dancing like a living rainbow, they knew that the world was not yet perfect, and that there would always be struggles and challenges to face. But they also knew that they had played a role in shaping a brighter, more inclusive future, where every individual could live free from fear and judgment. And so, with their family by their side and the colors of courage burning bright within their heart, Morgan faced the future with hope and determination, ready to continue the fight for a world where every color could shine without fear or restraint.